Hello, this is Gerald van Wals. In this video I would like to present you a word that has different meanings, but I tell you that every word has actually only just one kind of focus, and it's all the same thing, and all the meanings can be derived to that same kind of focus. How is that possible, you could ask me? You have to understand what a focus is, what kind of focus do we have, and so on, by understanding what I mean. All the letters are based upon three sorts of focuses. One which is directly upon the spatial frame of the object, or which one a kind of orientation which is disconnected a little bit with, because it's seeing things that it's going in different directions, so it's more looking at, okay, which direction does my focus have to be if I can't keep it still, or if that's even not possible to see immediately to which direction my focus has to go to. You can still then make up a balance of the situation and see, okay, but what I have here is a balanced out situation depending on a certain context frame. These kind of focuses are always there. 1, 2, 3, always 1, 2, 3. So there can only be 3 emphases as well of each word, and if there are different meanings, they also are maybe an emphasis of one of these things, because you don't see it immediately. So if you don't see it immediately as an object, okay, just look at which direction does it go. If that's not possible, just look at where the context lies. But the frames that are made to describe the things, the words, they are always the same as a focus. This is the technique around this scheme that you need to learn before you can understand it, before you can realize that every word has actually only just one frame of orientation, a description that tells you either how the object looks, or in which direction you have to go to and what you have to deal with, or in which context you can find the thing itself. There's one word, the Dutch word, which has 2 very different meanings, and I will tell you it's just one meaning if you count it, even if you can't believe it from the start. If we look up the word BLIK, we have immediately in when we look it up in a book, so without thinking, you have here the meanings. It's a look, a glance, a view, a container, a peep or eye wink, a pry, a regard, or a tin plate. A whole variety of actually descriptions that comes near to what it is. So it is of course sometimes necessary to understand the language as well, how it has been used, to have some experience with it, and then you can derive it already a little bit more to where is it used, in which context is it used, in one of these 3 things. And so you can already derive this whole series. If you don't know what it really is, okay, then you have at least some description in which direction this more or less is, but it's not the same thing. It's not a synonym. But let's go look for which meanings are really associated with BLIK. Then we come actually to 2 different meanings. The one is the view, it all has to be about how is related with your view or what you see, and the other one is the can. It's that tin can actually, which is which has a reference point there. 2 things that seems to be completely different. So how could we say in God's name that this BLIK, this word which is used for 2 different things, how can that be dictated by just one focus? According to my theory, that is just one focus. This is about the same kind of focus. There's already one mistake that I make here. You have to really look very carefully and think very carefully. Is that really my description of BLIK? Is that really explained by the direct source of where this idea comes from, or is it something else? Is this really that what it is expressing? Because the BLIK or the view should not be confused with the viewer, so the one who is making it happen. So the view is not the same thing as the viewer. BLIK means the view, not the viewer. So I already described it very badly, and that's how I certainly will not be able to understand, and also not to understand where the main factor of orientation is. It's only because I didn't express it well, didn't understand it well, didn't sense it well, didn't sense the real essence of that first word. It's about a view. This view can be derived to a view, how you can express it. And then I will tell you that these two focuses are actually the same, but still there are some differences, and I will tell you the reason of these differences, which you could already derive from my introduction. Because every word can be emphasizing either the orientation upon a form, the direction of a thought, or the context making condition, the frame. And when I use a word, the frame itself with which I describe it can be the same thing for all of these three applications. And that's what is happening here. When I can really use it directly for a form, that's the object, that's the can here, the tin can. If I using it indirectly, so I'm using a direction for it and a frame as well, so a contextual frame, it's that indirect use of my focus, and I give it a context. So these are already the same things. So what is actually the really frame? How do I describe the frame of BLIK, and how is it built up, and how does it look like as a sound in form? I will come to that now. Because the B, you can look it up in my system where it is. It's in the spatial frame, so it's about a spatial orientation. Mostly it's then about an object, an objective focus. It's on the second level, which is also the level of the two-dimensional orientation. And it's in the diagonal. So it's in the diagonal space of a two-dimensional frame. That's my starting point. And it's within, again, a two-dimensional focus, which is in the vertical. So I have really within that space an orientation which has a certain vertical and a certain diagonal push as well, because it's at the borders are at that diagonal. That borders have a diagonal push there. That's my first foundation. The second part is has the sound E. E is that conditional access in time and space, which I have to figure out, okay, where is it? And that condition is described in the last word. I come to the condition at the end. It's that limited view, that limitation of my center focus that I have at the edges. See it in one dimension, in space. There I have my limits, my borders. So there's a border there. Of course, that also at that there where you can see it at that point. And there is also my view limited. Basically, it's actually making a frame. So as you can see, and that framing is actually exactly the same thing as you have with an object. Then you have a framed object within your vision in that two-dimensional frame where you start from, with its edges that break up. And at the edges, you try to stretch it, but there it becomes You can't have an x-axis there at a certain point. The axis point stops. Your vision, or what you have, stops. So what's in there is contained. That's what you can have. In there, I can frame my vision until here. I can see what's in it. And that's the framed object, and that's my framed view. It's just one word, it's just one expression, it's just one focus for both things. The frame itself, the framing itself, the direction towards the frame, or it's even describing the same thing of an object itself, which is also framed. We can say in Dutch it's ingeblikt. When we look into a focus in the environment and we take a picture, it's also framed in that same way, framed into that can, or framed into our vision. That's not much of a difference, is it? It's the same thing. Okay, thanks again for watching. Bye.